Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for watching. Today I get the pleasure of speaking with my friend and colleague, Alma. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kimberly.
Yeah, thank you so much for participating in our challenge. We're having so much fun with that every day, and watching those videos every morning has been really a nice way for me to start my day. So thanks for participating in that.
It was my honor. Thank you.
Well, I'd love for you to share with everyone about how you first got into this whole world of transpersonal energy healing. And as you know, now we call our company Somagetics, but the
Mhm.
transpersonal energy healing work was really the foundation of the work that we do now. And I'm curious what brought you to this work.
Well, I actually ended up landing in it very by coincidence. I was enrolled in a functional nutrition program. And while I was attending a conference there, Laura Fine was one of the speakers. And I was intrigued by her work. It was different than anything I've ever seen or heard. And then she invited me to a four-day long weekend called The Awakening. Um, and I didn't know much about it. I kind of just followed my gut instinct feelings. Okay, I'll try something new. This looked interesting. And that weekend really was life-changing for me, that 4-day weekend. And after that, I realized why it was called The Awakening. I felt, I felt like I was awakened. Something in me was brought to light.
Mm.
And shortly after, at this point, I was already debating, thinking of leaving my day job. I knew it was my day job and I was there for the security and so on. But I knew that someday I wanted to leave and get my own business. And there was a lot of fear around that. But shortly after this training, I just knew that that was the next step. Like it pushed me. And then from there on, I went to level 2. So this was level 1. Level 2 was a year-long program where we went even deeper into this and became transpersonal energy healing practitioner. And that was just an amazing experience, working with Laura, working with Anadea Judith, doing some really deep work with other people who were in the program, way deeper than traditional therapy that I've done before. I've also done hypnotherapy in the past. Not to say they weren't helpful, they were helpful, but this took to a whole other level. And I felt like it accelerated my healing, but also I felt like, oh, this is a tool that was missing in my practice. I was doing functional nutrition coaching. When I left the day job, that's what I started doing. But having this new tool was really, really helpful because for many people, and as we know, illnesses, imbalances, whether physiological or whether it's anxiety or trauma or stress, it's all connected, my body and mind. So we can't just treat the physical and we can't just treat one, they go hand in hand. And this is what differentiated me as a practitioner from somebody else that just gives you the diet. Here's the diet, do this, and that's it. I had more skills where I can guide clients to when they get stuck, which most of them will get stuck at some point, as we know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the reason that I was so drawn to working in a deeper level after working with literally thousands of clients in a corporate setting where many of them, most of them, in fact, at some point along their journey, hit a wall of resistance, I call it. Like there's just absolute resistance to keep going. Some of them never got started. Some of them couldn't keep going. Some of them reversed back and, kind of undid all the good work that they had done. So it was really clear that I could only help them so far with the skills that I had. And so, meeting Laura, we met Laura probably around the same time.
Yeah.
And we both were lucky enough to train together with Laura in person. And we both had a background in functional nutrition and functional nutrition counseling and coaching, and adding this piece I know for both of us has been a game changer in our
Mhm.
businesses.
And many clients who come to me and they get packages for nutrition coaching, say a package of 10, maybe the first couple of sessions will spend time on the physiological, but it just ends up going in that direction, transpersonal energy healing.
Yeah.
Because that's what they really need to heal.
Mhm.
It just ends up taking that turn for majority of them anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
it's been
find the
really,
same thing in my
yeah.
practice. Yeah. It's the skills have been invaluable. You know, I thought when I went into practice, again, private practice again as a nutritional coach and therapist, what I thought that the majority of my time would be giving them support and advice on nutrition and supplements and herbs and lifestyle, and clearly knew immediately that, yeah, that's helpful, but if they can't implement everything that I'm recommending, then we're going nowhere. So naturally, we're gonna hit a place in the client experience where we need to go deeper. And, you know, some practitioners, they'll refer out to us to help with that piece, but you as a practitioner can learn
Yeah.
how to do this. And it's really not hard. It's not always easy, but we like to say that it can be simple. They're simple skills that we can use as a practitioner to help our clients go a little bit deeper in their healing process.
And I have a few clients who do both this work with me, and they also have a traditional therapist. And one of them, I remember I was teaching her about the patterns and recommended the book, and she told her therapist about the book and she read the book. So I love how this work is spreading, and that more of the regular therapists are becoming more open to mind-body approach.
Yeah, I am so excited about that as well. When I first started 30 years ago in the holistic healing world, it was just part of my world naturally, but the rest of the world didn't seem to quite have the same understanding of the mind-body connection. And it's so fun now to see so many more people being open to learning about this and learning some basic, simple skills that we can learn and use to make our everyday living so much more pleasurable and connected. You know, well, you have a really amazing story of mind body healing, because you had a pretty significant diagnosis that you were able to reverse. So would you mind sharing a moment, a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer when I was 30 years old. Does not run in my family. No genetics, which I've had tested. And my prognosis was 5 to 10%. 10% was the more optimistic one of survival rate, 5 years. So I did this obviously just changed my whole life. And I went through traditional Western therapy, chemo and surgeries, but I also changed everything in my life. So I started with the food and the supplements, but a big part of it was that's when I started learning about meditation, guided imagery, and also getting Reiki. That was my Reiki was my first exposure to the energy world. And it was really helpful for me during that time. And so when I started Transpersonal Energy Healing, which was just 3 years after I finished the cancer treatment, which lasted 2 years, beginning to end, with all the chemo, all the surgeries, I was still in the process of healing because it's significant trauma. And while I was going through it, the main goal was just survival. You don't have time to process what's happening. But afterwards is when I got to kind of process things and visualize, like figure out, where did this cancer come from? I was inquiring, not just about, is it the food, is it the water, or is it the GMOs? But I started thinking about it energetically. Like, what does this mean? For, colon, first chakra, that's our fear and survival. And I come from Bosnia. I left country of war when I was 11. So I started making connections. There's something there. And I started noticing in my own body how holding pattern is, it's always down in my lower belly. So once I notice that, then I can kind of start to work on it. And how do I release? How do I soften that part? And I'm noticing with clients, it tends to be where they hold something, that's where something might show up as a physical imbalance. For instance, a lot of women, as you know, it's more prominent in female versus men, have thyroid disorder, right? Because we're conditioned that way. How much we don't want to be too, woman is labeled aggressive if she's too straightforward. So you don't talk too much, just enough. And we feel suppressed in many societies. And then that comes out as thyroid, right? Yeah.
How amazing that you got exposed to some of these energetic concepts when you did, and have that be such a significant part of your healing journey. And now you have the opportunity, when you're doing the beautiful work of supporting other people with their healing journey and going below the obvious, I have a problem, I'm going to take a supplement or a pill or a medication and I'll be fixed. It's like, no, we help the client go deeper. What is the meaning around the illness or the symptoms that you have that might be rooted in that stress or trauma that was unresolved, that's been stuck in the body, and now it's showing up as cancer, or it's showing up as a dysfunction. And so I know that's a big part of your work. Would you share a little bit about what you do now as a practitioner, incorporating all of the skills that you have?
Yeah. So for me, I decided to start doing what I'm doing is when I was done with cancer treatment and on my way to healing, because I felt my healing really began after chemo, and all of these treatments just left me so drained, so exhausted, fatigued, and there is no bridge. Like once you leave the typical cancer treatment, they're like, okay, well, see you whatever in 6 months for a scan. There's no handbook. Okay, now how do I get myself back to living? I couldn't walk half a mile around the block. And it was really hard for me. That was almost the hardest period for me, I realized. And that's when and luckily, my husband and I, we didn't have kids. I could invest a lot of time in myself and going to find different practitioners and learning all I can how to rebuild. And I realized we're really missing this in our society. We're having more and more survivors from cancer and other chronic illnesses, but then many of them are not thriving, they're just surviving. So I said, this is what I want to do. I want to help people who have survived or who are having imbalances and they're not getting the answers they need from a doctor saying everything is okay, or who are struggling with stress, anxiety, or they might be many of them are hopeless, like I was. It took years to discover the cancer. So I know what it's like to walk in those shoes. And I find that my clients appreciate somebody understanding what it's like not to be heard. And something's wrong. Everybody tells you you're okay. I don't see anything. And nobody's hearing you. So somebody to understand. So I work with people who are hopeless, who've been around, who are told everything's okay, but we start digging deeper. That is my ideal client. They might be suffering from physical imbalance. Usually it's both. If somebody has anxiety, stress, there's something going on physiologically too. Or if they're having something physiologic, there's definitely anxiety and stress around it. Yeah. So I've helped them start to untangle what's happening in the body and working with the nervous system.
Yeah. Well, I think you're so right to have somebody that knows what you're going through, that literally has walked in your shoes and survived it and now is thriving. All right. So congratulations on your own personal healing story, and the beautiful work that you're doing with your clients is so needed. So I'm so grateful to have you on our team at Somagetics, supporting us as we support other practitioners to learn some of these skills so they really can go deeper with their clients and help them get to the root.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm so honored to be on the team. I love the work that we're doing, the Somagetics, and expanding, and I can see this in a few years being on a much, much bigger level. I hope it reaches as many people as possible because everybody could benefit from this kind of work. I mean,
Yeah.
for your personal healing, but also relationships with others. So not just for personal or for a coach having with clients, but my relationship with my husband, with my
Oh,
family,
yeah.
everything has
Mhm.
transformed.
Yeah, well, I know what the way I show up in the world is totally different, right? The way I show
Mhm,
up in my relationships personally as well as professionally because of the foundational work from Laura. So
mhm,
thank
mhm.
goodness for what she brought to the world. And, you and
Yeah.
I and the rest of the people on our team, we're going to keep bringing this forward so more people have access to it. Well, if people want
Yeah.
to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So my business name is Vitality with Alma, and my website is vitalitywithalma.com. And you
Great.
can go on there to schedule a free complimentary consultation where we can talk about what's happening for you and see how I can best support you. We can go over the different programs that I offer.
Thank you, Alma. I'll make sure that we put your information in the description box of this video below. So thank you again for sharing some time with us. I'm really excited to have you as part of our challenge and part of our team here at Somagetics.
Thanks, Kimberly.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.